Primeval pollies and gray-haired guys. Turn on the subtitles for your programming. Jazz up your jar opener. And, Nick, is it really okay to listen to this podcast when I have limited bladder control?
Well, it depends. It's time to talk Tull to me.
You get it now.
No, I get it. Yeah.
It's an adult diaper.
I use the store brand, so I wouldn't know.
Well, Wegmans adult
Wegmans
diapers.
brand adult diapers, yeah.
Welcome back to the podcast. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are the Feckless Momes.
And this, my fellow AARP members, is Talk Tull to Me.
A senile serenade in the sanatorium of Prog Rock, in which not-so-young Nick and outside his Best Buy date Omen will sit on our digital front porch and wag our fingers at each and every topical track that refreshing rock band Jethro Tull have ever pounded out with youthful cheer. We will ask young Doane Perry to teach us how to Dougie, get granked with juvenile Andrew Giddings, and ask baby-faced Martin Barr to please pause Bioshock 3 till after his homework is done. And, dear fam, if we can keep from appearing sus, we might just get to flex with the goat of the glissando, the drippiest Delulu from Dunfermline, a man who straight up yeeted our pill crusher, the bruh who, no cap, is straight bussin' on the broken chords, the imp for whom we simp, the hunty who never gives the ick, a real G who's this close to a mentee B, our British bae who eats and leaves no crumbs, a homie who's always DTF, delicately touching flutes, Ian toujours au courant Anderson. How much psychic damage did you take from that intro, Nick?
My intelligence score is reduced by 3.
Yes.
And I'm permanently scarred. That was too much.
I love youth speak. I don't understand it, but I say the words.
That's probably the best way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple of things. I've written down notes based on that run through.
I'm ready.
What's granked?
That is actually one I made up.
Is that the only one you made up?
Yes. But I think in my mind it is similar to crunked.
Okay. It has the same spirit as crunked.
Gank is when you steal things as part of a group.
Oh.
You gang yank.
Oh.
I don't know how modern that is.
In D&D or World of Warcraft terms, to gank is to attack out of sneak. So to sneak attack someone is to gank them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
How fastidious are you with sell-by dates or best-by dates?
You know, I think my policy is it's best by this date, but it's still okay after.
You talking about me or the bread in your fridge? You know.
I always do the sniff test. If there's visible mold, I will definitely cut that part off and eat the rest.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Yeah.
You referenced Bioshock 3, Omen.
It began with a B.
That's it. The Bioshock franchise is some of my favorite games. Those games are phenomenal.
Good to know.
Just nod. Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Cool.
Yeah. Go watch your Disney while I play Bioshock, Omen.
Okay.
Omen, why are we here?
Oh, why are any of us here? To reduce the suffering of all sentient creatures and to talk about the legendary rock band Jethro Tull, one track at a time. And I believe today, Nick, we actually have a track from Jethro Tull, which we will be discussing.
That's true. True to our purpose statement. We will stick with it. We've gone this far. We might as well keep going. Episode number 309, track number 13, off of album number 20 from the year 1999.
Oh my God. And weirdly enough, those are all my measurements.
Oh, yep. 12, 13, 1999.
Yep.
He's got a lot
Massive
of junk in the trunk. We are talking the song The Dog Ear Years.
The Dog Ear Years.
my theme song.
Let's turn up our hearing aids and have a listen.
Yeah.
Shaka Khan.
The dog-eared years.
Shaka Khan.
I'm not going to lie. When I first picked up the chaka at the end, I looked up to see if you were singing along in my earphones. I thought for sure you had just like timed it, or you were just like, you were singing along to the song.
That's very funny.
That's a very Omen thing to do. I thought it was you. It feels like it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Nick?
Omen?
The dog ear years. Velvet Mondegreen right off the top. I always thought it was dog-eared years.
I mean, I don't think that's even worth considering a Velvet Mondegreen.
What's a little D between friends?
It depends on how little it is, I guess.
It depends.
It's time to talk till to me. Yeah, I mean, I think that the terms are interchangeable. If I'm honest.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Is this a song that when you put all the songs of this album together in a jar and shake them, is this one that rises to the top for you? Is this an oily song?
No, I think this is the space between the oil and the water. It's right on that border. It's not.
It's orange juice.
It's not bad. Why would you put orange juice in that mixture? The worst salad dressing ever. It's not on the bottom for me, but it's also not a favorite. It's fun to listen to. I don't mind it, but it's not super up there.
I think for me, it's it's not one that I'm like, oh God, I'm going to skip to the dog ear years. Oh, I'll really jam out to this. But it's always one that when it comes on, I'm like, oh yeah, I feel a sense of happiness. There's a lightness.
It's very light, yeah.
It feels like a song that doesn't take itself too seriously and doesn't ask to be taken too seriously.
Yeah. It could be utterly lighthearted and frivolous, and maybe too much so, were it not for that opener where it is a little dark at first. It does start a little dark and slightly mysterious. It does kind of smack of the mildly exotic bits and bobs that we've heard this album that are obviously a callback to Roots to Branches.
A continuum.
Yeah, there's a little bit in there. And I think that's a nice opener to this song because it does keep it grounded a little bit more.
There are other returns to that darker element in the song, particularly with that kind of a bridge. There must be some time to walk through the night line.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 ba-do-do-do-do-do.
And at 2 minutes, we also have the quickest of little breakdowns, but I think it falls back into like a minor, and we get Martin really stingy there.
Yes.
He's not as super stingy in this one. He's not as hard in this one, except for those moments.
I love what he's doing, though. He's bringing some real... Well, I feel like I've used the word texture maybe a bit too much in this podcast, but he's bringing a lot of really great texture. And I think that on the whole, this album, we're kind of back in a keyboard phase of Tull.
A little bit, yeah.
I feel like Tull kind of goes, it's usually either the guitar, besides the flute, it's usually either the guitar that's taking the foreground or the keys. They clearly have been investing a lot in their keys players in these last albums. And Andrew Giddings is spectacular at what he does.
Yeah.
But Martin is still coming in and providing color and backing up certain themes, doing a little bit of unison with Ian's singing here and there, but great tone.
Yeah, he does that. So I mean, what that boils down to, just so I'm clear, is you're happy with Martin's texture on the whole.
Yeah.
That's. I just want to make sure that's what you're saying. Because that's what you said.
I'm not sure I want to sign off on that exact. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there are certainly parts in this album where Martin does step forward and is very strong, but I do think that is outweighed, not in any pejorative sense, but I do think that is outweighed by the presence of the keys here. You're right.
I think that even with the most recent tracks, with Bends Like a Willow and Far Alaska, we had a little bit more of that Martin coming out ripping.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And this is just a track that he's, a little bit further back on.
Yeah.
Speaking of guitar, most of the song is underscored by what, to my mind, is the Ian acoustic special.
Yes, we get some good strumming. Yeah.
Especially in the intro, which is really nice.
Rusted and ropey, dog-eared old copy.
We even have a couple of riffs on the acoustic guitar here and there.
Oh, I missed those.
This song is covered in musical carbuncles.
Yes. Yeah. You need to scrape this before you put it in another body of water.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That is exactly what a carbuncle is, and thank you for remembering.
Is it not?
A carbuncle is a jewel.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you're thinking of a barnacle.
I thought they were interchangeable.
Oh, no. No, if your ship is covered in carbuncles, you should scrape them off and go and sell them to a jeweler.
Carbuncle. A carbuncle is a bacterial infection that causes a cluster of boils to form a deep connected area of pus-filled lumps on the skin. We're both wrong.
That's the modern version, but a carbuncle can also refer to it like a little ruby or something. That's what the infection takes its name from.
Okay, a carbuncle is a deep red cabochon cut almandine garnet that is polished but not faceted.
It's an almandine garnet, yeah.
The word carbuncle comes from the Latin word carbunculus, which means small coal.
Because it glows. This track is dripping in musical pus. And there's a lot of...
I regret looking that up.
There's just so much detail. And, even trying to write it down, I couldn't be fast enough. There's this wonderful thing that Giddings is doing where he's doing these little like blips and bloops. These kind of like... It's so beautiful and it's so well laid into the overall pattern that you almost can't look at it directly. You have to look at it from the side.
I didn't catch it. I was more enamored with, pretty sure it's Martin with like a pedal or something. He's doing something that makes it sound like it's a string where it's so sustained and prolonged. Dee 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 dee.
Yes.
Dee 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 dee. And that's where he's matching Ian underneath while Ian's singing.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a really interesting sound.
Relaxed in the knowledge that happily present.
It's really, really interesting. I think it is Martin. My other thought that was maybe it is Andrew Giddings.
That was my thought, just by virtue of the fact that I don't quite understand the hardware of the guitar and the capabilities of the guitar. I think it's easy enough to default to a synth for that. But I mean, it feels like it has that stingy resonance of the guitar.
It does. If I were to guess and there were no consequences,
just for once, hypothetically, tell me.
If God was not watching me, I would say that was maybe Martin with a slide on the guitar. A glass or metal slide. You'd have to have a guitar in a special tuning, but you could totally make that sound by sliding the slide up and down the neck.
Right. Also with a pedal or something to sustain it, to really keep it flowy.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of dark magic in guitar playing.
Yeah, to me, it feels like the length of a bow. You can have that super single sustained note on like
interesting
a cello or a violin, whereas you don't generally get that because of a strum or a pick. That's where I'm kind of thrown off.
Here's a question for you.
Ask me.
Have we the squeezy box on this song?
I didn't catch it, and I normally do. Where, Owen? I'm not saying I didn't miss it. I very well could have, but I didn't catch it.
Vintage and classic are just plain Jurassic. All words to describe me.
There's a chord in there. There's just a chord that has that kind of squeezebox reed sound.
It's got that really high-pitched reed sound. Yeah. Could be synth, but I mean, we know Andy plays the squeezebox. You and I have literally seen him play it.
With our very own eyes.
Very eyes, yeah.
Interesting. But that's just one of those, this song is so dense with details. That maximalism is part of the thing that delights me about it. It's dense, but it's not heavy. It's dense and light, like
a whale covered in carbuncles.
like a helium whale.
Yeah, and I think, and maybe they just get lost in the mix after a while, but I feel like in this song, it's really notable that there are instances of like 2 seconds of something, 2-3 notes of something, and then that's it. That's the only time it's ever used in the whole song.
Case in point, we have the Glock, but it is literally just bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
And then maybe, 30 seconds later, we have bum, bum, bum.
Vintage and classic aren't just plain Jurassic, all words to describe me.
Honestly, that could very well be the synth too, right? I mean, there's no reason not to think that.
It could be, but I also feel that we're in a phase of Tull where they're not using the synth just to use the synth. They're making full use of the synth.
Yeah, right.
But not at the expense of other instruments. But who knows?
Right. It's in Doan's contract to use the Glock once an album, so I get it. Yeah, he probably tried to squeeze it in there.
Either use the Glock or get the sock.
Or lose the Glock.
Yep.
Yeah. We're in 3-3 or 6-3 here, aren't we?
We very much are. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I wondered for most of the song if there is a recurring catch measure of either 2 or 4.
Yeah.
But as I listened more, I became convinced that that is not the case, and that what's happening is that Ian Scansion, and thus the band, the musicality of the song, is doing something that is purposefully, they're playing a rhythm that is purposely at odds with the time signature in a couple of points.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There are 2 examples. The main one is, think back to long days with stale breath recycled in my face.
Think back to long days with stale breath recycled in my face.
It's swung, but it's very odd to swing something that way in 3/4.
Yeah.
So it feels very like you're getting tossed around, and that surely there's extra beats or missing beats. But I think it's actually just, if you listen to the backbeat, it's still got that 3/3 going through.
Yeah. There were times of that syncopation that I was like, okay, no, we're still here.
Another example is Ian's do. It's sort of a shorter version of it, but it does the same thing where you're just like, where am I? Oh, here I am.
I really enjoyed those vocalizations. I feel like it's been a while since we've had.
Thank you.
I feel like it's been a while since we've had you, Omen, Thomas Sade.
Oh, I see.
Sing along in these songs.
Yeah.
No, the Ian, he gets moved by it, moved by the spirit.
And even toward the end, the
in the fade out. Well, it's not even really a fade out because it does end rather abruptly, but the kind of the wind down.
Yes.
He's scatting in there. He's doing the barest minimum for it to be called a scat, but he's still scatting.
It's very charming, and it seems like he's having fun. Like there's, again, it just feeds back into this kind of like easy breezy looseness of the song.
Right. Yeah. Going back to, you were saying one of the dark parts was there must come some time to walk through the night line, hands tight, heads high.
Yes.
This is the first time I've ever noticed that verse, I guess, for lack of a better term. The first portion is echoey.
Yes.
On the left side.
Yes.
These are the dogger years is straight, no echo.
Yep.
Full frontal. And then the rest of that verse is echoey on the right side.
There must come some time to walk through the night line. Hands tight, heads high. These are the dog-ear years. Don't turn back, don't linger. For God's sake, keep moving. Primitive shadows, side by side.
I didn't catch that it panned from left to right, but I did hear the filter that's on there.
Yeah. It's not, I think it's generous to call it a pan because I don't know if you noticed while I was listening, I was lifting ears. I still heard it in the right ear, even though it was predominantly in the left.
A subtle pan.
But it was stronger. It was stronger on either side. Yeah.
The filtering reminds me a little bit of going all the way back to Aqualung, You know, that where there's kind of a straight sound for most of it, and then
Sun streaked and cold.
sun streaked and cold.
Yeah.
I think that's the lyrics.
Sun streaking cold, an old man wandering lonely, taking time the only way he knows.
That's more like filtery, almost over the phone kind of, you know, like old-timey news.
Almost as if you were swapping out the physical microphone.
Yeah.
Whereas in 1999, you could do all that with just an After Effect in post.
Right. And just make it a little echoey. Yeah. But it has that feeling that it's removed.
It does, and it gives a nice feeling of, you know, you're in the song and then Ian's voice is something outside the song talking to the singer. It's beautiful. It works really well.
Yeah. It's very fun. I think we should keep that in mind when we get to the lyric portion as well, to see if we can incorporate that choice somehow.
Oh, yes, I think so. There's a great flute solo at 1:54, not particularly long, but delightful nonetheless. Quick song in general. It's only 3 minutes, 34 seconds.
3.5, yeah. It does feel long, though.
Does it?
Not like, oh God, this song's long, but it feels like it should be up to 4.5 for me.
Maybe that is a result of the density.
Yeah, I think so.
There's so much happening per square second that they've packed a lot of stuff into the footprint of this song.
I wonder if the 3/3 has anything to do with that as well.
Possibly. One thing about the 3/3 that I find interesting, the combination of the 3/3 with the tempo. If you just counted out the tempo, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, it's not that fast. But the way it's being played with all the subdivisions makes it feel fast.
Right.
If you listen just to Jonathan Noyce, he's kind of playing the bass, as opposed to what we've heard recently on some of the most recent tracks. He's playing it in kind of a, I don't want to say standard, but like in a very, that's what I would imagine the bass track to this song would sound like, kind of way.
Yeah.
And if you listen just to him, it feels slow. It's like dum ba dum bum dum bum ba dum dum bum bum bum.
A lot like the last few songs where we've heard Martin really stepping forward. We've also had those instances of Jonathan where he's not stealth bassist in the last couple.
Mm-hmm.
They both fall back on this song.
Yeah, he's definitely in stealth bass, or at least undercover bass mode.
Yeah.
He's plainclothes bass.
That being said, it's really hard to think about, having just listened to it a couple of times just a few minutes ago, it's really hard to think about, is there an instrument that is our backbone here, that is our through line? And it's Ian's voice, I think I would say.
I was just gonna say that.
It carries us through, even though we do have those breakdown moments of just instrumentation. I think Ian's voice is really our method through the song.
And how freaking beautifully is he singing in this song?
It's really nice in here. It's really nice. He seems very comfortable. It's up, it's down. He's really working his range. He's not stretching anything. He's not straining. And there's a lightness to it.
It sounds relaxed.
Yeah, there's a liveliness to it that is really nice to hear.
It's great. Singing wise, this is one of my favorite songs on the album, I would say.
Yeah.
Which isn't to knock the other ones. I just think that there's a real, when anyone can achieve that relaxed place to sing from,
Yeah.
it's so beautiful to listen to because it puts you at ease. It makes you feel relaxed.
Yeah. I think ease is a really good word to use here. There is kind of a calmness, a naturalness to it, as opposed to I'm a rock singer singing a song that is being presented to you. This is Ian walking through his garden picking roses.
I can just imagine him trimming roses and being like, dee-dee-dee-dee-bee.
Yeah.
Fertilizer for you.
You're looking a little rough. You've got some Japanese beetles. We should get those taken care of.
These aphids are killing me. Nick, welcome back
Omen.
to the Dog Ear Years. Let's dive into these fabulous lyrics. What does dog ear mean?
So to me, to dog ear something is in particular a book.
Yes.
It's well worn. It's worn down. In particular, it's those corners that are folded in just a little bit, just from wear and tear. They look like they're kind of folded down like a dog's ears,
Sure.
a floppy dog's ears,
So
or a dog's floppy ears. Whether the dog is floppy or not
could
is
be,
yet
could,
to be determined.
could not be. I associate it with the act of folding down the corner of a page to mark a page when you don't have a bookmark, which is illegal.
A crime.
It's a crime.
Do not do it. I'm on the board of the library in Moravia, New York. I will hunt you down.
Jeez. This has been a public service announcement / threat. Public service threat.
I'm legally authorized by the state of New York.
They sort of go hand in hand. It's like, I think of it as being an object not being abused per se out of malice, but just out of long-term use.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about a book that is so well worn,
Loved.
and beat up because it's so loved.
Yeah.
It's got those folds, it's got the notations and things in it. I can't bring myself to do that, but I've yet to meet the book that requires that from me. I hope to one day meet that book. I've got a Craigslist ad going for that book, if anybody's interested.
Yeah, must be hardcover.
Oof, waterproof, please.
But if you've been passed down a book from a family member or something, and they've read it more than once, thrown it in a backpack, maybe took it with their lunch, it has some cheese staining on it. There may be notes in the margins. That's kind of what I think of as being dog-eared.
Yeah, it's sterling. Kelly Stallard, bless her sweet, sweet soul. She gave me her copy of Lamb, the Gospel of Biff, the Unknown Gospel of Jesus Christ by Christopher Moore.
Yeah.
Brilliant book, beautiful book. And it was her practice to pass that on to people. She would always get another copy and make sure that it got to someone.
Oh, interesting.
And then I passed it on. It's a brilliant book. It's very beautiful, very clever, very respectful before you worry about the whole Catholic thing.
I was worried there for a minute.
Don't come at me with a fluffy pillow.
Cardinal, poke her with the soft cushion.
So the dog ear years would imply the years at which one has become worn with love.
Right. When you're considered dog-eared, you're in your, I don't know, I feel pretty dog-eared at this point. So 40s, what?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Jumping into the lyrics, rusted and ropey.
Rusted and ropey.
Well, we were just talking about Ralph Fiennes before the podcast and how he's playing Odysseus.
Mm-hmm.
And Odysseus, at the point that he comes back to Ithaca,
Yeah.
is the definition of someone who's been through it.
Yeah.
He is older and he has survived through cleverness, not through being, Ajax.
Yeah. Super wily.
And he was describing, trying to get this weathered, ropey body where, it's not necessarily aesthetic from the point of view of like, ooh, hot young guy, but it's ropey because it's just been used so much. He's been sailing for the last 20 years or more.
Right. It's a body that has survived.
Yeah, exactly. And shows it. And rusty is another great pairing with that. Something can be completely functional and have a bit of rust on it.
Yeah. Or the other term for rusty is I'm rusty at something. Is I used to be well practiced at something, but I've kind of fallen out of that skill, so I am therefore rusty.
Interesting that Ian uses the word rusted rather than rusty, perhaps to avoid that implication.
Yeah, that was a very sweet way of saying you're wrong, and I appreciate that.
Dog-eared old copy. We do have the D there, the ED there.
Dog-eared old copy.
Just like the book you were talking about. Well loved, well worn, well at service to the world.
Yeah.
And then we have some more euphemisms for old, vintage and classic, or just plain Jurassic. All words describe me.
Vintage and classic are just plain Jurassic, all words to describe me.
It's wonderful. It is what we've come to delight in from Ian, this gentle, self-deprecating poetry.
Yeah. I like it more than just like, okay, here's a bunch of synonyms. We're really looking at kind of two sides here. Like, I could be considered vintage and classic. Yeah. Like, I could be appreciated for my age.
Classic.
Or me dinosaur.
Yes.
A me dinosaur and I won't lie down.
I could just be some old guy telling you to get off my lawn. And it's really a matter of perspective, ultimately.
It totally is. And I think that, maybe some of that is how he perceives himself. Some of that is maybe how he believes himself to be perceived from the outside. I mean, imagine some young whippersnappers coming up and being like, oh, this band is so, classic. And being like, yeah, I know what that means.
These vinyls are vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't born when those vinyls were released.
My knees are vintage.
Now get away from my dressing room. I have a concert to prepare for.
Right, exactly.
James Never Again.
But then we have the kind of like playful negative side of things. I'm so old. It reminds me of the Buddy Guy song. Well, I done got old.
Yeah.
I've referenced that before.
You have, yeah.
Probably more than once.
Well, I done got old.
Relaxed in the knowledge that happily present are all things to sustain me, nurture and claim me, roll back the mileage.
Relaxed in the knowledge that happily present are all things to sustain me, nurture and claim me, roll back the mileage.
Nick, let's have a sentence structure breakdown of that.
Yeah. So I'm relaxed in the knowledge that all things to sustain me, nurture, and claim me are happily present.
Happily, they're there, yeah.
They're present, happily present. Because there's that semicolon, we can roll back the mileage after the fact here.
As an independent clause.
Yeah. So at this point in my life, I've set myself up, whether intentional or not. I know that everything is here that I need to be here.
Right. I may be old, but I have everything that I need, and so I don't feel old. The knowledge of what a good position I'm in rolls back the mileage, youthifies me, yassifies me.
Yeah, I'm comfortable and therefore happy, and therefore I don't feel my age.
Kind of pertinent to this conversation and to us in this moment in our lives. You remember Doug Kajolka?
Yes. R.I.P. Doug.
May his heart go on forever. I remember when we were, 19, 20, I was talking to him and I was like, what is it like being old?
Ever tactful.
Yeah.
Omen said. But however, if you're going to ask anyone, Doug was the perfect person to ask that.
And I think that the reason it came up was because he was talking about dyeing his gray hairs that were coming in.
Yeah.
But this is a classic Doug. He would be like, I don't dye these for me. I dye this for my audience so that they don't feel old because they see me aging. I want to present this youthful energy to them to make them feel young. And I was like,
yeah.
And I think that was part of it. But I remember asking him, what is it like being your age? And he said, when I turned 40, I was lying in my bed at 39, panicking in a cold sweat. And midnight struck, and I felt this wave of relaxation wash over me. And I realized I don't give a anymore about what anyone else has to say, about anyone's expectations. I can just be me, and that is enough. He said that when he turned 40, his life opened up. So for me, that moment has always been a touchstone for me of like, oh yeah, I get to look forward to being older. And I think that this song is describing that, I finally can just really be myself.
Yeah.
And you can hear the relaxation in it.
There is definitely the sound of taking the joy for this moment.
Yes.
Of really appreciating it.
So then the song turns from the singer to the subject, perhaps. You have settled beside me to the far and the wide of me. A matter of choosing, of finding and losing on the rough ride with me.
For you have settled beside me to the far and the wide of me. A matter of choosing, of finding and losing on the rough ride with me.
So I was just talking about things that I surround myself with that make me happy. You are around me. Ergo, you make me happy.
I would relate that to the claim portion of the first verse. What does it mean to be claimed? My initial reaction is like, oh, I don't want to be claimed. You know, that means you're tied down. But actually, if you are claimed, you are found. You will be found. Dear Evan Hansen.
You will be found.
There's a sense of, I am, what's the old song? You ain't nobody till somebody loves you.
You're nobody till somebody loves you.
It's the I'm somebody because somebody loves me. You've settled with me. You found and lost me, and found me again. You've decided to go on this journey with me.
Yeah. And you're the most important thing of all of those things that are happily present to sustain me. Therefore, I'm talking about you here. I'm not talking about my feather bed. I'm not talking about my piece of luggage that fits perfectly in every overhead compartment. I'm talking about you.
I was like, wait a minute.
That sounds awfully personal.
It fits under the seat. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's under the seat. So sorry.
Who is the you in this context?
It's me.
I think you're right, though. I think it is the listener. I think it is, we've had Ian direct songs to the listener before. And I think this is a moment like that. Like, I only exist because you're listening to this music. Yeah, it could also be directed to a lover.
Yeah. But there's nothing to say that it can't be, hey, you who's listening to this, I wouldn't be here without you.
And it could be all of it at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. The Decemberists and Nickel Creek also have songs addressing the audience like that.
I think a lot of bands do.
Yeah.
It could also be the you of the self. There's a sense of self-actualization here where at some point this crazy life was being built and the self, let's call him Ian, had to decide, are we really going to do this? You know how you talk to yourself?
Yeah.
And the difference between doing something in alignment with yourself and doing something out of alignment with yourself is huge. So like Snoop Dogg said when he won a famous award, he said, most of all, I want to thank me for putting in the hard work, for making the decisions, for believing in myself. There is that sense of like, that is necessary.
I want to thank me. I want to thank me for believing in me. I want to thank me for doing all this hard work. I want to thank me for having no days off. I want to thank me for never quitting. I want to thank me for always being a giver and trying to give more than I receive. I want to thank me for trying to do more right than wrong. I want to thank me for just being me at all times. Snoop Dogg, you a bad motherfucker.
That line, a matter of choosing, of finding and losing. The term is to find yourself. It fits there.
Yeah.
It does work there. I like it a lot.
It's a trifectus of meaning.
That it is. Try-infection.
It's a carbuncle of meaning.
Take your antibiotics.
Please.
Immediately.
And speaking of
Speaking of taking.
Take whiskey with water, kick stones down the gutter.
Take whiskey with water, kick stones down the gutter.
Interesting. The whiskey with water, to me, immediately has two interpretations. One is I'm older, and so I need to temper my whiskey with water to make it a little less strong.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the sense that that's just kind of, you need both of those things to survive. You can't survive just with whiskey, and you can't survive just with water.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've tried.
On the other side of it, there's also, I've heard tell that it's actually, whiskey is actually kind of better consumed with just like a splash of room temp water or something. So
Yeah.
taking whiskey with water is I can appreciate the finer things. I'm not just some heathen who's going to hit a whiskey,
In depth.
pound a whiskey, and not really appreciate it.
It's enjoying the little things in life. It's enjoying the depth of life. Even kicking stones down the gutter. That could be the literal act of kicking a stone, which is so fun.
It is.
You get to see it go.
You get to see where it goes.
Get to see where it goes. Right into the train tracks. Oh God, I was never there. Just think of the song Rocks on the Road. We're coming from a place in life where he that lets the small things bind him leaves the great undone behind him, that your entire day can be disrupted by a crumb on the table. And now we're taking those stones and we're just kicking them down the gutter. They don't even matter.
Just kick them.
Just kick them.
Don't look down the gutter. Pennywise might be there. Just kick the stones.
Just kick them. Think back to long days with stale breath recycled in my face. Rattling through airways, plastic on cold trays, watching through windows, deep landscapes below another time and space.
Think back to long days with stale breath recycled in my face. Rattling through airways, plastic on cold trays, watching through windows, deep landscapes below another time and space.
This gets really personal and certainly feels more on that musical side, you know, whether he's addressing us as the listener or Shona, you know.
Sure.
We are getting this reference here of the time that he has spent in these 30 years, the time that he spent traveling everywhere, going someplace for something, ostensibly doing something that he loves to do, but he has to put in this time and he has to go through this process that, let's be honest, is pretty shitty to go do the things that he loves to do. And it's not like, oh, I'm really excited about working on this Excel project when I go to work and I have to walk up a flight of stairs to get to work. It's exciting. He is excited about it. That's true. I'm really excited about this Excel project I'm working on.
Yep.
But he has to suffer travel in many locations, whether it's air, bus, train, moped, just to get to these locations. It's not a simple commute.
Yeah.
It's not a simple, oh, I get to go to work 9 to 5 every day. It's these hours are grueling.
Spent 12 hours on a plane to Japan.
Right. And then perform with jet lag.
Yes.
Because the show is the next day.
So I think you're totally right. I think on one level, these lines are just about the discomfort of travel. Mm-hmm. Stale breath recycled in my face. Like, oh, remember when we had to ride that 8-hour train or bus and the air conditioning was out, or, you know, it was miserable.
Yeah.
Rattling through airways. That could be him rattling through an airplane or rattling through an airport. It could also be the air rattling through the air system.
Oh, yeah, right. Or even hitting turbulence, like the actual plane itself rattling through the airway being the jet stream.
Plastic on cold trays could be the kind of plasticky airline food on a cold tray.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Or it could be putting down your plastic, like putting down your card and having to pay for something.
Good call, yeah.
That isn't very nice anyway.
Yeah, right.
Watching through windows, deep landscapes below. I mean, that's just sort of reminds me very much of looking out a plane window.
Yeah.
I also think that there's a little bit of this sense of think back to long days. Yeah, I'm reminded of remember evenings shillings spent. We had no something to pay our rent.
Yeah.
The battle days they came and went, giving rise to fruitful years. I misquoted it slightly.
We used to know, yeah.
Every morning, shilling spent, made no sense to leave the bed. The battle days, they came and went, giving way to fruitful years.
So there's that sense of like, oh my God, remember 30 years ago at this point when we were touring and the kind of nonsense we put up with? Thank goodness we have the internet and Starbucks and vacuform shoe inserts, all the kind of things that make it a little less difficult now.
Right, because the tail end of that line is : another time and space.
Yes, exactly.
Everything referenced leading up to this has been another time and space. It's things I don't suffer anymore. Well, I mean, I'm sure he does, but it's nowhere near as prevalent.
With somebody who travels as much, you're going to see the same places more than once, and you might literally see them from a different perspective. So imagine flying over a city and looking down and being like, oh, if I was flying over the city 15 years ago, I would have seen myself on a bus hating my life.
Right. And that building is new.
Right,
That building
right.
is gone. You invest so much of this time, you see not just your own life progress, but the world around you progress.
Yes. So then we get to the final verse of the song, and this is the minor verse.
Yeah, with the echoey bit, yeah.
Yeah. There must be some time to walk through the night line. Hands tight, heads high, these are the dog-eared years.
There must come some time to walk through the night line. Hands tight, heads high. These are the dog-ear years.
That's another hands tight, heads high, colon. These are the dog-ear years.
So just hands tight, heads high, clenching one's fists and soldiering on makes me think of stiff upper lip. We just have to keep going.
Right. Hands tight. I mean, yeah, it could be like you're clenching your fists, but it also, to me, it feels like you're holding hands.
Holding hands with somebody. Oh, yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, we're going through this together. We're holding our heads high as we hold hands.
I love that. How do you interpret there must be some time to walk through the night line?
Yeah, what is the night line aside from an evening news program?
Welcome to Nightline.
A line for something that has formed at night, like a club, a restaurant. Like, what do you got here?
I think it's the death.
Oh.
At some point, it will come time to step across that line, the line into the great night of the soul. But until then, we're going to keep going and enjoying every single moment, even if my hips ache a little bit more than they used to.
Yeah.
Because these are the dog-ear years, and so we have to enjoy them.
Right. And either I've got you with me to hold my hand while I do it, or I'm resolute and I'm fists clenched, head held high. I will face it when I need to.
Don't turn back, don't linger, for God's sake, keep moving. Primitive shadows sidle beside.
Don't turn back, don't linger. For God's sake, keep moving. Primitive shadows sidle beside.
That to me is a very Orpheus and Eurydice image.
Okay. Yeah, don't turn back. We've also got Lot and his wife,
Absolutely.
the pillar of salt. Yeah, don't turn back, don't linger. For God's sake, keep moving. If you turn back, you are doomed to failure. Don't reflect, always look
Yes.
forward.
Yes, keep going. If you stop, you'll sink. It reminds me of, I think it's in the Fellowship of the Ring, or maybe it's in the Two Towers or Return of the King, where Frodo, Sam, and Smeagol are making their way through that swamp. That Smeagol's like, I know the secret way to get through into Mordor, and they have to go through this crazy swamp where if you look into the water, you'll see the ghosts of the armies that perished there in the past, and they'll drag you in, so you just have to literally keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, you're on the thin ice. You have to keep shifting your feet, otherwise you'll sink.
Yeah, the moment you stop, you're lost. It's the swamp of sadness in Neverending Story.
The swamp of sadness.
But that's not if you stop moving. That's don't get depressed. Take your Zoloft before you go in the swamp of sadness.
Also a fit with this.
A good lesson to learn, yeah.
Maybe it's Kenny Chesney, but there's the song, when you're going through hell, don't stop moving.
I don't know it.
If you're scared, don't show it. You might get out before the devil even knows you're there.
If you're going through hell, keep on going, don't slow down. If you're scared, don't show it. You might get out before the devil even knows you're there.
Great song. I love it.
How do you know so much country music?
I dated someone from West Virginia,
I forgot about that.
and that's why.
And you haven't forgotten about that.
And I have a weird memory for songs.
You do.
I love country music.
That you do.
Jethro Tull is my favorite country band. Oh,
Yeah.
the Primitive Shadows. I mean, that could be the depression. It could be
Yeah.
the fear of death. It could be the reality of death. I mean, one of the things that we know from science is that as we age, if you don't use your body, it atrophies so fast.
Yeah.
And so the best thing you can do as an older person, I'm speaking of ourselves, aspiring older people,
I've atrophied already. Thank you.
you know, you literally have to keep in movement or the primitive shadows of entropy will sneak up and gank you.
Right. Use it or lose it. The primitive, that adjective to me is very, it's very lizard brainy. You know, everything dies. Our ancestors died, whether they knew it or not, they were going to die. You know, there is that unavoidable reality that you could be the smartest man in the world. You could be the richest man in the world, but you are just a bag of meat that will die. I didn't want to ruin it for you, Omen. I'm sorry, spoiler alert.
Wow.
This bag of meat.
This bag of meat. Can I get my meat in a bag? Alexander the Great had one of the biggest empires that history had ever seen or has ever seen, and he died of a fever.
He died. He had a little cough.
Genghis Khan, dead.
Dead. Marie Antoinette. Marie Curie.
Super dead.
Albert Einstein.
Dead.
Marie Curie is encased in lead because she's so radioactive.
I love that.
Isn't that awesome?
What an aspirational death.
How badass. So great.
So if we step back a little bit from this song, The Dog-Eared Years,
Yeah.
we spent the whole first part of this podcast talking about how light and bright and cheerful the music is.
Yeah, right.
And now it's kind of this like, keep smiling or the Dementors are going to tear you apart limb from
Yeah,
limb.
right. Expecto Patronus, this song.
It's very interesting, but it really is, you know, is this the secret to life after 40? Do you believe in love after life, in life after love?
Yeah, is the secret acknowledging, accepting, and then just carrying on and then just doing what you do?
And I think it is having had the foresight to set yourself up well
Yeah.
and then to really enjoy the things that you still can enjoy.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Cher, I saw an interview with Cher where she's famous for having boyfriends who are less than half her age. She's in her 80s now, and her boyfriends are like in their 30s. And an interview asked her, they said, Cher, you know, why is it that you date older men? And she said, well, men my age are dead. I was like,
That's brilliant.
that's a fair point, Cher.
Yeah.
The thing with men my age is they're all dead.
That's very funny.
Yeah. Nick, what are you most looking forward to about your second youth, your 40s and beyond?
My silver years?
Sure.
Is that what it is? I don't know. I don't think there's anything like that's been age gated that I'm looking forward to, you know? But it's that next step in life, you know, where we get to see Rook grow and evolve and become his own little person.
Yeah.
And then experience and appreciate that. And then approach life significantly differently because we don't have someone who's depending upon us. Ideally, we have something of a retirement at that point, you know, that we can be comfortable. And the further up the line graph goes of years, it also correlates the amount of work that we do for the man goes down, and the more we do that what
yourselves.
we want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Having the freedom.
Yeah. And for you, it's being a silver fox, I think, right?
I'm big time looking forward to aging sexily.
Yeah.
I'm following the Jeff Goldblum model
Embracing it.
and setting up for it,
Yeah. He's been this age for the last 40 years.
and will be for the next 60,
Yeah.
and is rocking it. I'm really looking forward to having a different relationship with time. You know, in my 20s and even for most of my 30s, I've had this sense of like, I have to, this has to be now.
Keep
This has
going,
to
keep
happen
going,
right
keep
now.
going, keep going.
And now I'm like, oh, I'm really like, I just put my fig tree in the ground a couple months ago. I'm so excited for 15 to 20 years from now when that sucker is
Yeah.
15 feet tall and I can just sit under it and pick a fig.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to have that kind of perspective on time.
It's interesting. The further we go in that timeline, of mortality, the more we can appreciate the longer term things.
Yeah.
And the less time we have for those longer term things, you know?
Which ideally, if you follow the model laid out in this song, you can appreciate things more deeply.
Yeah. To rippity wrap up here, the echoiness of this last verse, it's the most finite idea we have in this, is that, yeah, you're going to die. I'm this echoey voice from inside your mind bouncing around, reminding you of that mortality. But I'm also telling you, don't dwell on it.
It's almost like a mantra and a memento mori.
Yeah. Yeah. Death happens.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. Don't spend too much time on it.
Don't stop and smell the death roses. Don't stop and smell the depression daisies.
They will kill you.
The dog-eared years. The dog-eared years.
Nick, what are we listening to next week, assuming we live that long?
Next week, I plan to live that long at least.
Oh, then I will. If you're going to do it, I will do
Okay.
it.
Yeah, we signed a blood pact. Next week is the last day of 2024.
Wow.
On New Year's Eve, we're going to discuss A Gift of Roses,
A Gift of Roses.
my favorite song.
I love this song.
It's so sweet. It's so sweet. And also, buckle up, hold on to your butts. The following day, January 1st, 2025, is the 6-year anniversary of Talk Tell to Me.
Wow.
First episode was dropped January 1st, 2019.
We should also mention that Gift of Roses is the final track off of .com, the album.
Correct. The final official with one bonus to round things out.
One bonus, and then we will be moving on to
Thick as a Brick 2.
Thick as a Brick 2.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. January of 2025. We'll see us talking Thick as a Brick 2.
Until next week and next year, I am the stone falling down a gutter, Omen Thomas Sade.
I am the dog-eared copy of Nick McGill.
The people making this stale breath recycled in your face are the feckless gnomes.
And this is yet another time and space. Talk Tell to Me. You know, Sisyphus trapped death and avoided death for many a year.
With the stone?
No, that was his punishment for all the chicanery he did.
I didn't know that.
He trapped death. He also told his wife, when I die, throw my body into the gutter. Don't put the coin on my tongue. Don't sit the 7 days. Don't do any of that. So when he shows up on the shores of Styx, he says to Chiron, you know, I don't have anything to pay you to get me across here. My wife took the money. She didn't honor me. And Chiron's like, well, I can't take you across without the coin. So get on here. And then eventually the gods cotton onto it like years and years later once his wife dies. And he's like, you know what? I'm kind of done. And then they're like, you're a dick. So I think it's Hermes. Hermes says, okay, so you can go spend your time in Elysium, not Elysium, but one of the ones where it's like, it's limbo. He doesn't remember anything, but he also doesn't suffer.
Sure.
You can either do that or you can try to push this boulder up this hill. And if you get it to the top, you can live forever.
Wow.
But you have to choose now and you can't change your mind after the fact. So if you can't push it up the hill, tough tacos, you got to keep trying.
Jeez.
And he chose to live forever and is doing so in Tartarus to this day.
Wow.
And his final words, actually, oddly enough, his final words were quite prescient. They were, Talk Tell to Me as a proud member of the Feckless Mums audio network.